Okay, so we have a little car update. You know, we've been trying to figure out the overheat issues, and so I took and was trying to figure out, is it programming, is it tuning of the engine? There is nobody in the state that can tune these flippin' aftermarket Hemis. So I finally contacted the company in Seattle that designs the tune and builds the programming and wiring harness for the transmission that's in that car, and had him download some things, and we looked at the tune of the engine, and the tune of the engine, as awesome as it is, was not right. The factory tune for your crate motors come set up for a manual transmission. The RPM is wrong. The RPM at idle is wrong. So he corrected all that, and my God, does it drive better? Does it shift better? It had absolutely nothing to do with the overheat issues, but it was awesome to get some actual tuning and some actual programming going on. So now it's running a million times better. So the actual overheat issue is as upsetting as it is. Those home motors have a oil cooler line, and the oil cooler line goes from the upper hose to the lower hose, and I think there's a restriction there because I put 3 different thermostats in this car and it never cared about it never changed the overheat issue. I drilled 2 small holes in the thermostat, and the thing will not go over 180 now. It runs amazingly cool. So I have another idea. I just purchased a tiny little airbag, and I'm playing around with rear suspension ideas. So I want to show you some of that. Let's show you what the airbag snubber, as I will call it, how that's going to work out. How you doing? So, got an idea. People can say I'm crazy. I had under this car basically snubbers. So bump snubbers. When this is running on the lift and I've been playing with it, you can actually watch this differential. It flexes really hard with these really long springs. And so under acceleration, it twists, and that differential twists and digs. And at real high speed, I get a weird vibration that you can tell kind of comes in through on the drive line. And then when you put it on the lift, you can see it. But when it really gets bad, the front of the differential bounces. I have 3 different drive lines, a completely new housing, completely new axles, completely new rotors. We've changed pinion angles 26,662 times with different shims. We've changed the transmission mount, changed the transmission down, out, up. We've put a different transmission in, put the same transmission back. So trying to, verify where it is. I then had the snubbers. I had this up, all temporary stuff of trying. This was up in the cab of the car. This bump snubber was on the differential, and then this kind of hit into here, and you can see how it was crushed and put under Hudlard and banging. And it seemed like when I had constant contact, it was better. So I am going to fab up, and I'm working on this little mini bag and putting this little mini bag up here, where I'm going to put this bag on top of the differential, right on that pad. This old bolt that was on the other one temporary is going to get cut off and get rid of that for right now. And then with that there, I'm going to have a solid, or an airbag mounted to the front of the differential, to the front of the car, constantly. So one, all this rubber should act like a bushing so that when it starts that little tiny shake, it's holding it in place. And then I'm going to play around with different air pressures to see if that makes it better or worse. And this could be an absolute waste of time. I don't know. Plus I have airbag shocks playing around with different air pressures in the shocks, trying to put different load to it. This is a big toy. It's all just experimental, playing with different things. So currently this is my mount that on top, but I don't want to be crushing and hurting this fitting. I'm trying to work with much room as possible. So I just took and cut this little chunk of round plate or round stock out. I'm now going to cut that in half and put that over the top of that. And then I'm going to weld another piece of steel off the back of this, and that will be my top mount. So when the pipe is in here, it won't come into contact and won't crush that. And then the bottom is just going to bolt to the bottom of that pinion snubber plate that I've already got. This is for a totally different type of car that fit this differential, this third member. So I'm just going to re-drill and add some plates to this bottom plate. And that's what's going to mount that. And it might be an absolute waste. I might be affecting the pinion angle, and it might ride rough as hell, and it might be horrible. So it's all going to be temporary for right now until I can get that figured out. So I will cut this in half and show some of the progress. Okay, so I've got the bottom, the pinion snubber that mounts to the differential on. You can see the two bolts there and there. That's holding the airbag on up there. So that's our hard plate to the airbag. And then come around over here, and you can see I've got that little round piece of stock that I cut and welded to that plate. So now that's not going to come into contact to the, if it does hit, it's protecting that fitting so I don't break the fitting. Plus this is hanging out past the hump right here. So this should go up in past this and never make contact with the mounting plate. So this plate is out over here. I'm going to now raise the differential as if we were going into ride height and put full load on the suspension. And we can come up here and kind of watch that. As we're coming up, see, now that's not doing anything back there. That's still clear that way. We're not going to be damaging that fitting. And now we've got suspension on. I'm starting to crush the rear springs, so that's lifting even harder. And that's ride height, that's load. I can keep pushing up a little bit. So that, I believe, is not quite. There it is. So that is now crushed suspension. My springs are fully collapsed. I'm starting to take weight off of the lift. I do have a brace in the front of the car, so I'm not tipping the car forward. So I can give it a little more push. So now that is, where the wheels kind of ride into the fender. Those are tucked up inside now. The bag is partially crushed. And get in there. So it's starting to crush in there, starting to put a little bit that way. I can run an airline here, run it up across. That keeps it off the top of the differential. And then I can have a mount in that. Now, if you look under here, I have, you can kind of see that hole. We've got a hole right there and right there. So now I can mark that, pull my drive line so I can drill that, and that's going to be the mount for the top. And that keeps the top from falling down. And then that's going to be more of that solid mount versus just kind of sitting there. And
that's the mount. So then I'll run an air hose. Where are we at? We'll run an air hose off of that up into the trunk for a temporary fitting, just to put a pressure gauge on, and we can put a couple pounds in, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 50, and see what it does. If it pushes the pinion way down and really affects the pinion angle, I still haven't finished cutting these off, and I can still put wedges here and wedge that back to put more load against the springs, just to try different things. So now I'm going to take my marker, mark that center hole, so I have a place to bolt it. I'm going to have to pull the rear seat and take the upholstery apart and get under the rear seat to get that bolt in there. But for right now, I can probably put something temporary in there just for a mount so it's holding, and put some air pressure in and maybe even drive it tomorrow just for a test. But let's pull the drive line, drill a hole in it, and get that going. So those holes up in there, because we're working with a concave surface, a little marker trying to push up through the hole, I couldn't get something through the hole. So you take a Q-tip, take a little rattle can paint and dust a little white paint on the end of the Q-tip. Then I was able to push it up through that hole and take the Q-tip and then push it up in, go straight up in. Now I have two nice little white dots up in there. I'm only going to use the one on the inside, but I did dot both just so I can see who they are when I lower this down. And quick little easy marker. Garbage. All right, so I just drilled it out, slammed a nut zerk in there. That's through a double thickness piece of plate, so use that little guy. So now I should be able to bolt the bottom on, put the one up there. Basically, suspension and weight's going to keep that in this channel and see what it does. Let's get it put up in. I can put the drive line back on. Okay, I've got it in, mounted. We've got the one bolt up there holding it in. Technically, when I come down now on the bag on full suspension drop, it's actually hanging off of that bag a little bit. So maybe a bad thing. Maybe when it's fully down or when I'm jacking it up to take a tire off, I might rip the bag because the bag's actually going to be holding it up. But well, let's see. I still need to get my U-bolts tight. I just got the bottom finger tight. I need to spin it and get my bottom bolts in. Get the U-bolt in that one and get those tight. Then temporary run an airline, put it in the trunk and start playing with air pressure. Okie dokie, airline ran, temporary zip tie, going over the exhaust, between the frame, up into the trunk. I'll zip tie it to that speaker wire, power wire for the speaker. That's actually for the amp. And then I've got some temporary little Schrader valves that are metal fittings because the little cheapy plastic ones always are a pain in the butt. So we'll throw that in, then we can pressurize it, test it, and I'll drive it tomorrow. But let's put it on the ground, put some air pressure to it, see if it changes anything and what it does. All right, it's on the ground. I still have good suspension travel if I push the back end down a little bit. It does ride a little stiff back here, but that's to be expected. I stuffed that cord up in here for right now, so I can put my fitting on. So I'm just going to route this over here. Like I said, all temporary. I'll put the little fitting on the end of this, put a little air pressure on it, and I think I might even change my other fitting for my My other suspension, actually I think that's a T. It is a T. I don't have the right one for that. Well, I'll do this one for right now. And I'll take this over here. I'll cut that off, the nice clean cut. I'm not even going to mount it. It's just going to go on the end. And we'll stick this on here. Now you always want to make sure you look at these ends. Make sure you got a nice, clean, perfect cut. And that one's actually in really good shape. I typically put a little bit of silicone lube on the end of it. Mostly if I'm doing it for the first time. But for this, it's all temporary. So we'll put her there. And just for testing purposes, I'll use the little Milwaukee air compressor, which I need a battery for. Let's grab a battery. And here. Okay. And let's screw this together. Let's use 2 hands. So that's screwed onto that. We can turn this on. I'm just gonna, let's just give it 12 pounds just to see what that does. And I'll back up, push the thing, put my hand on it. Oh yeah. Actually, I saw the car go up. It lifted the car and it put weight on it. I'm going to sit back here. Well, you can see the difference. So no weight in the car. It bounced up to 21 pounds after I sat on it. I sit on it. My fat butt bounces it back down. Cool. So I'm going to leave this in the trunk for tonight, for tomorrow even. And then I'll play around with air pressure, pull over drive, see what it does. But it definitely lifted it, so that's a thing. And we'll see if that changes anything. If it launches harder, if it accelerates harder as far as the traction, then it's a win that way. If it's worse, if the vibration-ish thing goes away, if the hum of the vibration gets worse because it's such rigid mounted, I just kind of feel like these motors and transmissions are used to a car with a solid axle, solid mounted rear end with independent suspension. And the way that driveline floats and the way that rear end floats, and there's normally a carrier and there's normally a harmonic balancer on the drive lines of those cars, I think every now and then there's just that slight hum of a, it's not bad, it's just a weird hum. And it's not a hum like a sound, but it's like harmonic, like you can just feel it in your butt and that kind of deal. All right, well, it's late at night. I did this after work. So I'm going to close it up. Let's drive it tomorrow morning into work. And let's see what it does tomorrow. And we'll be posting a, I'm a genius, this worked great, or didn't do a damn thing, it was a waste of time. Let's see tomorrow. Night, y'all. See you in a few, well, you'll see me in a few minutes. I'm going to go to bed, though. So, pause, be back. Well, good morning, car. It is 6 in the morning. Time to get readies for workies. Let's turn this back on, see if it even held through the night. It's sitting at 33. I aired it up even more last night just to play with it. And I let it down, but I still have good suspension, so it's kind of cool pushing on it. You can see the number go up and down. I think for initial test, I'm going to put it there, leave it there, turn that off, and grab my keys. Open the door.
see what difference you make, huh? Initial bump off into the shop. It's all good. Oh, all right, let's close the garage door. And the bump's going across the gravel. It seems absolutely fine. Morning, Rusty. Flock of geese up there. Don't tell me it's fall. You guys aren't leaving. No. Canadian goosers. Morning, geese. Say the initial bumps through this road, because there's a bunch of cracks and everything in it. I don't hear it. You don't hear thumpings or anything that way. It feels actually really good. It's not stiff and hard, banging back there. Got some railroad tracks coming up over here. I'll hit them a little bit more just to see how that feels. Running up the road. Sun's that perfect angle. Getting late summer now, where it's just going to start right in your face as you're driving to work in the morning, which sucks. And then, depending on if you can actually get home at an okay hour, it's right in your face driving home at 6, 7 o'clock at night. But the fun of living this direction from the sun. Tracks a little bit. Absolutely fine. Got a car coming a ways out. Let him do whatever they need. We can get up to speed. Blinky blink. Blinky blink blink. Acceleration. It's really nice. But that mid-80s vibration right at that 80 mile an hour still kind of comes in. You can kind of hear it. And you can kind of make it go away. So it didn't really get rid of it. It definitely launched harder. Did a definitely a difference on the launch for it. What I might even do is pull up over here. It's a wide spot, and I'll pop the trunk. I'll even take a little air pressure out and see if that even made any difference. Okay, loosen the fitting. Turn this on. That dropped her down to almost nothing. We'll just put a little bit of pressure in it now. I'll tighten that back up. Okay, it's funny how it says 10 then 20 and it goes to that, so I'm actually going to back a little bit off of it and tighten her down. Okay, I've put about 15 pounds in it, so about half of what was there before. We'll pull out on this. Try not to spin the tires on the gravel. it a little acceleration here. Ride, how it runs that way. I'm very happy with that. That weird vibration, I knew it wouldn't get rid of it, but I was trying to see if it would hold it or correct it, but still got to find it. It's somewhere in there, somewhere in the rotating mass. I do have a small vibration, but that, the launch and having a little airbag pinion snubber, I'm kind of happy with, so that's all good. Oh, and then our overheat issue. I don't know if any previous videos, I think only like 2 people watched it, but these motors have oil coolers, and I did eliminate the oil cooler. So there's a 3/4 inch line that goes from the upper hose to the lower hose and goes through that oil cooler, and I don't know if it has something to do with circulation or what, but this car, I put 2 or 3 different thermostats in it, and the thermostats were never really made a change, but I put 2 little holes in the thermostat, and vibration. Now the car is smooth as silk. I don't get that part of it. But anyways, I put 2 small holes in the thermostat, and now the engine never gets over 180. It used to run 215, 220, and if you accelerated hard, and under hard acceleration, it would go all the way up to 260. And the 2 tiny holes in the thermostat completely got rid of it. Which, like I said, I put 3 different thermostats in it. I put a 180 and a 205 and all the different thermostats. But it's running cool. The motor's actually running really strong. Just trying to work all these other little quirks out. It is what it is. She's still a fun toy. If flat gets down the road, gets out of people's way. I'll put this down since I got the sun in my face. I'll kind of go over a little more of this in the shop, maybe it's later tonight. That's my little airbag pinion snubber. Definitely going to keep it. I think I'll plumb it in nicer. I'll make a better mount on the top and do something a little different with it. So I'm happy with what it's doing. There's a big bumper heave spot right there. It hit it real nice. So that was that. Oh, at the shop, I don't know, sounds better or whatever that way. I'm happy with the way it hooks. I'm happy the way the suspension grabs. We'll just keep moving forward with some other processes and go from there. But I would not call it a failure. Definitely want to improve on it some more. I got my lunch. It's a double burger with double cheese, mayo, chips. Just hold all the stuff other than the burger. I'll be my lunch today. It's a quickie grab. All right. Well, first initial drive, I'm happy with. Suspension height, I'm happy with. It sits just fine. Rides just fine. So, airbag snubber. Kind of a funny idea. Figured I wanted to try it. So, that's basically the airbag snubber. Didn't really solve all issues, but I will say after driving it and playing with it, it launches really hard. It pulls nice and straight. I went out in some areas, turned on track mode, turned on sport mode, and flat, put my foot in it, and she hooks up real good. So definitely is a keeper. Going to make it a better scenario or a better situation. But yeah, temperature nice and cool. Yeah, we're all good. But anyways, that was my airbag snubber. Little updates on the car. Taking a beautiful drive down the river. And I think that's where I'll end it. You guys have a great one. And as always, I don't give no shits. Ah!